There you go. Thank you. Good morning.
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 All right. Are you guys ready to go?
We're ready, willing, and able whenever you guys are.
Sounds good. It looks like we've got Edgar Lopez up first with you, Daryl. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Any updates or anything that we should know about him that's not in the recommendation?
I don't believe so. We're on track to finish. He's an active ACTVP, and we're on track to finish that Monday, the
Okay.
23rd, and he should be done with that, and everything else is good. He's going to Texas, so we don't have like pre-approval on his house. But we
Mhm.
did the home placement questionnaire. I did call and talk to his mom a couple times. Sounds like a good stable home, and sounds like he's got a real steady work history, and he doesn't have a confirmed job, but I talked to his mom, and she's basically said as soon as he gets here, he's gonna have a job the second day he hits the ground. So
Sounds good.
I don't have that confirmed, but I kind of trust her that she's probably telling me the truth. So
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't have any questions. You guys have any questions? Sounds like we're ready to bring him in then.
there. Thank you, Scott. You guys got any snow on the ground there in Des Moines?
Just a teeny bit. We didn't get much.
An inch and a half up here.
Oh, wow.
You want
Good
to
morning.
How are you doing?
Want to state your name and number, and then away you go.
Okay. Edgar Edacine Lopez, 650-9579.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. My name's Meredith Lamberti, and here with me are Jesse Rincon and Dana Winger, and we're the three-member panel of the Board of Parole who are going to be talking to you this morning. Before we get started, there's a couple of things that I want to go over with you so you know what to expect today. So the very first thing that's important for you to know is that this Zoom that we're on is considered a public forum. And what that means is that members of the public or the media can listen to your interview, but they can't participate in it. But because they can listen, it's important that you know we might discuss some personal and confidential information this morning. And that includes, but isn't limited to, things like your medical history, mental health history, treatment history, or other confidential information. So do you understand those are some things that we might discuss today?
Yes.
All right. So what's going to happen is that each of the three of us might have some questions for you, and we'll start with our questions first. And then once we're done, that's when I'll turn back to you and you'll have the chance to tell us anything else that you'd like for us to know or anything that you might have prepared for us today. And once you've had a chance to make that statement, then the three of us are going to go into our deliberation where we discuss what our decision's going to be. And we'll do that here on the Zoom, so you'll be able to listen to our discussion as we're having it. And then once we have a final decision, I'll turn back to you. I'll deliver it. I'll explain anything about it that might be confusing, and then that will end our interview for the day, okay? You ready to get started?
Here I am.
All right, why don't you start by giving us, a brief but detailed explanation of the crimes that you committed that led to you being in prison today.
I committed domestic violence. I physically and emotionally hurt my victim, Elizabeth Hansen.
How long had you been with that individual?
Roughly eight years.
And had there been violence throughout your relationship, or was it at the end? Okay. Did you grow up in a home where you saw any sort of domestic violence?
One time, I was 2 years old.
Were there any drugs or alcohol involved when these domestics happened?
No, ma'am.
What do you think the root of the problem was that led to you becoming violent?
Just me not letting things go, me drinking alcohol, just being entitled, that sort of thing.
Did they like start out of arguments that got out of control, or how would these incidents begin, and like what led to you getting to that point?
Yeah, it led to arguments, but it was things like I said, I couldn't let go, so I started the arguments. I felt like, I mean, being in prison, I was toxic, and that was just something I couldn't let go. Things that were out of my control, I just started fights on that. It was just that, yeah.
Is that your longest relationship that you've been in?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had any other long-term adult relationships?
In high school, but I wouldn't consider them long or anything.
Okay. So have you had any violence with women in the past, or is it just this victim?
I've had it with one victim in the past.
Okay. All right. Moving forward, I guess, what does a healthy relationship look like for you and a healthy way to manage your anger?
People that work on their problems together, people that talk about it, people that communicate, um, uh, loyal to one another, people that do things together, um, like family vacations, going to church together, just communicating and doing things together. What I see is like a really healthy relationship.
So it looks like the plan here is for you to parole to your parents in Texas. Is that right?
That is correct.
Did you grow up in Texas or have they moved there?
I didn't. I was born in Oklahoma, lived there for about 4 years, and I was raised in Nebraska.
Okay.
Yeah.
How'd you end up in Iowa?
My job. So as soon as I graduated college, that sent me up to Minneapolis, and then it sent me to Iowa.
Okay. So do you have any, well, no, I'm going to ask it a little bit different. Long term, where do you want to see yourself living?
So that's a good question. As long as eventually the kids are under my roof, it doesn't matter. But within like the next 5 years, I see myself living in Dallas, Texas, which is 6 hours from my parents. After that, if worse comes to, I mean, anywhere where my kids are at in the state-wise, but I know it's going to be a very long process for all that to happen. So in the next 5 years, I see myself living in Dallas just because of the one-way commute, flying from Dallas to Cedar Rapids to see my kids. So yeah.
Okay. So are your children with your victim?
Yes, they are.
Okay. What's your current, do you have a custody arrangement?
The plan is to get all that handled as soon as I get out. I got a family lawyer's information through my instructor in Newton to get a hold of when I get out, and that's the plan day one.
Okay. All right. I think those were the only questions I have for you right now. So I'm going to see if my colleagues have any questions for you. Jesse, do you have any questions?
I do. Good morning, Mr. Lopez. My name is Jesse. Nice to meet you.
Me too.
So you are currently inactive and you're about ready to finish, correct?
Correct.
So, what are some of your unwanted thoughts, feelings, emotions that you have experienced in the past that you now recognize?
That's a good question.
That's like-
I'm his instructor. Curious to see his answer. Sorry.
I
No
mean,
worries.
the unwanted emotions, like I mean, I get. Can you repeat that question again?
Yeah. So here's one. From what I've read in the evaluation, I think you struggle with some jealousy. And I think when you're not in control, that's another issue. How have you learned to accept that and move forward by knowing that those are some things you need to work on?
Absolutely. No, okay, I'm glad you explained that a little bit. No, I didn't think I had any until I got to Newton, until I had to take that SOTP class. Man, I figured out so much about myself. Jealousy is a big one. I didn't realize how entitled I was growing up. That's something I'm gonna change. Like when I get out, and then when I say entitled, I mean not just in relationships, but also like through work and everything. I found out like I just wasn't. I'm gonna be. I don't know how to say more nice. Like I'm gonna be a nicer person, just in general. Like I was, how I was at work, just for my title, I wasn't a good. I mean, I felt like I said I was entitled. I always viewed myself as a good person, which that kind of hurt me. Um, yeah, we already mentioned jealousy, and that's just something that nothing ever even happened for me to be jealous. It was just things that I did on myself that I would blame, like the victim or anybody.
Can I stop you right there? Did you find yourself at times when you didn't have all the information filling in the blanks yourself, whether it was true or not?
Did I?
Did you find yourself when you were making accusations and you didn't have all the information, you were filling in the blanks yourself?
Absolutely, absolutely, and it was always filling in the blanks with negative thoughts. Nothing
And,
ever, nothing ever positive.
and that's the whole purpose of active is for you to notice what's going on in the moment, and you don't have to take that path. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's leading
yeah,
to direction. Did you learn about timeout plans?
I did.
Do you have your own timeout plan that will work for you?
I do. A good one. I mean, just leaving the area I'm in, going on a little car ride, uh, walking out, going on a walk, going to the gym, um, and just taking a breather. In therapy, which I did not use this out in the world, but I did go to therapy a few times, doing the 7-7-7 second rule, holding it, or it's stuck in there for 7 seconds, holding it in for 7 seconds, and blowing it out for 7 seconds.
Your grounding techniques. That's good.
Mhm.
Um, what has been a more of an issue for you, drinking or drugs?
Alcohol by far.
And when you were drinking at your worst, what would you consume? Like, what was a heavy day for you?
Close to us. I moved more to hard liquor towards the last days before I got incarcerated. I'd say close to a 750.
Wow.
Close.
Out of
I'd
bottle.
wake up and it'd be all like the next day, it'd almost be gone. I was like, wow.
Okay. No, I appreciate those answers you give me, and I thank you for your honesty. I have no more
Yeah.
questions.
Dana, any questions?
Just a couple. Mr. Lopez, where are the kids now?
Cedar Rapids.
They're in Cedar Rapids,
Yeah.
and your plan is to hopefully land in Texas.
Correct.
So
I'm-
go ahead.
I apologize. Yep.
No, go ahead.
No, yeah, like I said, I plan on moving to Texas right away and starting right there.
Okay, so other than is it your mom and dad's house or just mom's house?
Mom and dad.
Any other family in Texas
I have my brother.
in that same area?
Yes.
Okay, is in terms of, we mentioned alcohol a couple times, and that seemed to play a part in this. What kind of support system with the family are you going to have to make sure we don't head down that road again?
I have amazing support. This is weird. So I drink, I mean, I drank a lot. I drank a lot. My parents don't drink at all. So they're going to be my support system. I'm going to be living under their roof. They're going to keep me in check. Same with my brother. My brother he doesn't drink. Has he drank? I'm sure he has, but he's never drank around me. He's a young guy, but no, mom and dad have always been there for me, growing up since I was, so.
Okay, so over the course of the last, little better than a year, what's going to be different this time? Because there's domestic, related issues that go back to like 2019. So what's going to be different now? Because the history is a little bit disturbing, more than a little bit disturbing. But what assurances can you give this board that you figured this out?
Just being in prison, being in jail. I think the longest time I've done in jail was like 10 days, and that was work release. Being away from my kids. I mean, just being away from my kids is the biggest thing. And then being here, I don't wanna come back to this. Finding out, I mean, knowing that I had an alcohol problem, that was probably the biggest one. I mean, coming in, you're like, I don't drink that much, I drink on the weekends, whatever. I drink maybe once every few days during the week, but I had an alcohol problem for sure. I saw that. Having to start all over, losing my job, losing my kids, losing friends. I mean, once you got to jail, prison, you lost, it seems like you lost everything. And like I said, being here, taking classes on my own, like I took MRT, taking SOTP, taking active, you just see everything. You just want to be a better person. By being here, you just want to be a better person coming out. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
What's a relationship like with the kid's mother?
I haven't spoke to her since I've been kind of.
So there's some work that needs to be done there.
Correct. Like I said, day one, or if it's a weekday, we plan on getting a hold of the family lawyer and thinking to get everything so I could have that co-parenting or have co-parenting exist.
Okay, I don't think I have any other questions.
Any follow-up
I do
questions?
not.
All right, so Mr. Lopez, now is your time to tell us anything else that you'd like for us to know or anything that you might have prepared for us today.
I just want to let you know I took all this time to better myself. I viewed everything just being locked up, you have nothing but time to think about your mistakes. I know when I leave here, I'm going to be a better person, better father, better coworker. And I know what I did was wrong. Yeah, my record it might be disturbing. It is disturbing, but I don't plan on being that person. Ever again. I've ruined so many lives. When I say so many, I feel like I ruined my kids' life, and that's just not being there for 2 years, and that's just I don't ever want to do that again. I want to be there, and like I said, I took this time, and I know what I did was wrong, and I plan on being a way better person when I get out.
Thank you, I appreciate that. We'll have you sit back, listen, and we'll let you know what our decision is. All right, Jesse or Dana, what are your thoughts on the recommendation of interstate compact parole to Texas?
Yeah, I can go. I think you had a good interview. There's something you don't see too often, and when you're speaking to people, somebody that says they were entitled, that realizes they were entitled, is a big deal. And I think that's good that he's come to some realization. He programmed well. He's taken a lot of classes. He's about ready to finish the active class. So I'm going to be for in agreement with the DOC recommendation to parole to Texas to his mother's house. I think the codes would be PGD 55 for the interstate compact. I would put in for the 40A, the substance abuse, for the evaluation, and the 50A. What's his discharge date? 2025? June, yeah. That'd probably be about it.
Dana, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's been, I get the impression there's been some reflection that's occurred, particularly through the courses, offered while he's been incarcerated. I think he's taken advantage of that. He's got some work to do on the relationship piece, in terms of his goal of that co-parenting. And I appreciate the fact that he's going to get some professional advice on how to do that and do it the right way. Rather than, end up in the same position again. I can support the recommendation as well. It sounds like the support system in Texas is what he needs. The prohibition on alcohol, I think, is going to be key to this, key to his success. And hopefully the family can provide that support for him. So I also concur with the DOC's recommendation.
Great, thank you both. I'm also gonna agree with this recommendation. This will give him time to complete that interstate compact process and go to a support system. For codes, I agree with the 50A, the 40A for the substance abuse, but I would add mental health and medication compliance. I do see that trazodone on there as well. All right. So, Mr. Lopez, you heard our discussion and we are going to go ahead and grant your parole today. I'm going to walk you through everything that we were talking about. So we are going to grant your parole to Texas. You'll go through the interstate compact process for getting your parents home approved. And then when you leave, you'll have standard conditions of parole that everyone has. Your PO will go over those with you. And then what we do is we place additional special conditions of parole that are specialized to the crime or things that we'd like you to complete out in the community. So we don't have much. We have one that's 40A, which are things that we'd like you to engage in. So we'd like you to engage in some sort of substance abuse treatment, and the form of that you'll decide with your PO, whether it's, one-on-one counseling, NAAA, that'll be up to you. We'd like you to continue to address your mental health. And then we'd like you to continue to take your medication. It doesn't mean that you're stuck with what you're on right now, but it does mean if you want to taper off of it or make any changes, that we want you to work with a medical professional. And then the final one is a 50A, which is a prohibition on drinking alcohol or being places where alcohol is the primary activity. So places like liquor stores and bars that don't sell food. And then you can be subject to random UAs by your PO as well for alcohol. Do you have any questions for me about what any of that means?
Do not.
All right. Well, thank you for your time today, and we wish you the best of luck.
Take care.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, Daryl. I'm Jesse. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I think you still have it up on your computer.
Just 1 second. We got to turn off some mic.
Okay.
You have yours.
Yeah, you're still on.
There we go.
Okay. So on Mr. Williams,
Yes, sir.
remember what happened last time. So,
Oh, last couple of times,
yeah.
Yeah.
Anything changed? You talking to him?
Well, I don't mean to, I'm not laughing. It's
Right.
not a laughing
No, I get it.
matter. I've talked to Chase many times since he's been here, and I tell you what, that's always been the crux.
Okay.
He still, to this day, won't tell me what happened.
Okay.
And I told him straight up, I said, you're gonna need to be prepared to discuss it openly if you want to get out of here.
Right.
Mhm.
I said there's no point in doing another interview unless you're willing to do that. And he said, yeah, I am, but time will tell, I guess.
Okay. Well, so has anything changed from the eval, behavior wise, everything?
No, he does very well here. I mean, he's worked his private sector out. He's done everything we've asked of him and more, and he continues to do very well here. No reports, no problems at all. In fact, we were recommending a work release. We're recommending a parole now because he does have a parole plan and did get pre-approved. So we're recommending that. But yeah. So as far as on our end, no, he does well.
All righty. Colleagues, do you have any questions before we get going?
I don't know.
We can go ahead and bring him in.
Okay.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. Chase? You ready? Okay. They're wanting to talk with you. They can see you, they can hear you, so whenever you're ready, state your name and number and y'all proceed.
Good morning.
Morning.
Please state your name and your state number.
Chase Williams, 619-6960.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and run down how this works. I know you've been here before, but I'm just going to, remind you. My name is Jesse Rincon. My colleagues today are Meredith Lamberti and James Moses. We'll be conducting your interview. This interview conducted is considered to be in a public forum, meaning that the public and the media can listen in, but they cannot participate. We can possibly discuss confidential information such as your mental health, your substance abuse, and your medical history. Do you understand this, and are you willing to proceed? Okay. So how this works, I'll start out by asking you to describe the crime in detail. What was going on in your life at the time? What brought you to prison? After that, my colleagues and myself might have some questions for you. After we complete our questioning, I will ask you if you have anything that the board you would like us to know before we go into what's called deliberation, meaning we're going to make a decision. After we make a decision, I'll come back to you and explain our decision, okay? So, before we get started, I just want to explain. You've already been tried, okay? You've already gone to court. All this is done. The only thing we need to know is the information that we're asking so that we can just assess your progress. That's all. I want you to understand that. So it's very important for you to answer the questions that we're asking. So I'm going to start off with there. I'm going to start off by asking you to describe the crime, what happened that day.
First of all, before I get into that, I just wanted to say that if I fumble with my words a little bit, it's just because I'm nervous. I apologize in advance.
No worries at all. We're here to help you get through this, okay? So we're here for you. You take your time. I know it's hard, but this will help us gauge your progress, okay? That's all we're looking for.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say that I did a lot of self-reflecting, and I just realized that in order for me to go on with my life and consider myself a man, just not only in your guys' eyes, but especially in my eyes, it's just that I have to accept what I've done and explain to you guys what I've done.
Yes, sir.
But the reason that Jaden's ribs were broken was because I was punching him. I don't remember exactly how many times, but I don't remember the exact days or time, how many times. And then I sat on his body, not his head, just his body. And then that night, he was crying. I was going through a lot of things. I guess emotionally, I wasn't the same person that I am now and didn't know how to control my emotions. So I put his head under hot water in the bathtub.
Okay. And as hard as that was, thank you for reaching down and telling us that version of the story. I appreciate that. As hard as that was, and even as hard as it is to hear it, that helps us out. So my first question for you would be, was there any animosity towards a child? Was there something you guys just weren't clicking that was building up, or was you just frustrated, or what would you pinpoint the problem being that led up to that?
I think at the time I really just didn't have any patience that was like the same patience that I have now. And I don't know, realistically, I just at the time at 19, I was not prepared to take care of a kid at all. And I should have accepted that and realized that as being a man, but I wasn't a man yet at 19. A lot of people think that they're growing up as soon as you turn 18, but you're not. It really takes years of self-discipline and controlling your thinking and your actions before you can actually come in.
And you're absolutely right. It does. It takes time and to develop because you're still a kid at the time at 19 years old. Have you struggled with any mental health needs, or have you reached out or anything? Are you on any kind of medication?
Let's say realistically, when I was in the world, I mean, I was going through a lot of things and my mind wasn't right. I guess you could say I was kind of depressed that in the world, that could have been part of it. I mean, but like now I don't struggle with any mental health and stuff. I feel like working out helps me with that a lot.
Do you think that any kind of mental health, like just talking to somebody might help you deal with, what happened? Now you've come to terms and you're willing to talk about. Do you think that would help you on the outside just to speak to somebody that you could trust that would be a safe place?
You guys need me to, I can, but I don't feel for myself that I need that. I feel like I'm in a better place in my life and I feel like I've accepted everything I've done and I know how to control my emotions and control those thoughts that I would need to talk to anybody about.
Okay. And I guess my real question is just, would you be willing if it was offered? That's my question. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And was any drugs involved or drinking at that day of the incident?
Yeah, I was actually smoking weed at the time, marijuana.
Um, and now that I see that you're taking full responsibility for what happened with the child, um, your parole plan consists of you going to a girlfriend's house, correct?
Yes, sir.
And she has children, right?
No, she didn't have any children.
She does not have children? Okay, so there will be no children in the home?
And I have viable transportation for her. I plan to going and trying to stick out for a job and stuff. As soon as I get out, go to the temp agency. I'll probably have a job in a couple of days.
Okay, my next question is, does she know about the crime and the details of the crime?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. I have no more questions and I really appreciate you answering ones I did have. Thank you for opening it up. I see a different you sitting there today. I appreciate that. I'm gonna pass to my colleagues. James?
Yeah, hey, thank you. How you doing this morning, Mr. Williams?
Doing good, man. I'm just kind of nervous, man. I'm just ready to go home.
I feel you. I feel you. And I felt your nerves, and I want to echo what my colleague just mentioned, because I remember you, and I think you remember me from the last time we met. And I want to say to you that I too am appreciative of what you were willing to dig deep down to share with us your position in terms of what took place. That says growth. As you know, when you were sharing it, I'm sure you felt it as well to be able to share because of your previous position initially prior to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it just realistically, it just felt like a weight lifted off my shoulder because it felt like I just had it buried and I was trying to forget about it. But that's just not realistic. It's what I did. I have to live with my past.
And that's what's refreshing to this morning, to date, is what you're sharing with us, and wanting you to know that when we're conducting these interviews, I mean, our mindset is to try to have the best intentions for people like you, your well-being. So when my colleague talk about transitioning or potential transitioning in help, and are you open and willing? It's for those purposes, if that makes sense. The other part is that we want to make sure that, yeah, we know that you can be in better self-control with some of the things that you've learned and have engaged in, but we also know that there's those professionals that can help, talk through it too, because as you mentioned within sharing with us, you said you were young then when this incident happened and you weren't prepared for a lot of the responsibilities. And you're older now. As you continue to grow and get older, going through your journey as you navigate through life to the best of your ability, those professionals can be helpful that have that private space for you to let out other aspects of what you're going through from your mindset, heart, and all the things that you want to continue to do to be better, if that makes sense. So, um, uh, picking up on where you potentially are ready for, if I was to ask you two to three values that you can share with us today that you didn't have prior to, and you've already alluded to, being humbled and sharing with us more. What would two other values be that you have?
Uh, I've thought about my values before, and then like it probably I was already very family oriented before, so I would say I can't really say that. I'd probably say mental health and just making sure, and then the other one that would probably just be not only just family, but just making sure that everybody I love and care for sees that I love and care for them.
So I'm gonna throw one out to you, willingness. Your willingness to broaden your perspective in terms of wanting to share a bit more of you today is a huge step towards your journey, towards where you are trying to go. So your willingness would be something to continue to piggyback on, if that makes sense.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you for sharing. That concludes my questions to you today.
Thank you, James. Meredith?
No, I don't think I have any questions. I appreciate the conversation that you guys have had.
Okay. Well, Mr. Williams, that's going to conduct our questioning for today. And I must say you did well. I'm proud of you for taking that stance today. Is there anything you would like the board to know or to leave us with before we go into deliberation, make our decision?
I just wanted to say that I appreciate you guys for hearing me out and giving me another opportunity, and I deeply and sincerely apologize for not being mature enough to tell you guys what happened before.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We're going to go into deliberation at this time, so just sit back and listen. When we're done making our decision, I'll come back to you and explain, okay? All right, thank you. Colleagues, would like to go first.
I can. I'm gonna go ahead and support this parole plan. I think that you guys all had a really good conversation today. It showed a lot of maturity and, as far as the programming that he's done since he's been there, it looks like he's taken advantage of virtually everything that's been offered to him, which I think also shows maturity and growth. So I'm gonna support this plan for parole. As far as codes, I'd be looking at that 30A. 40A, I think substance abuse and mental health. I think the 50A doesn't sound like it was a primary issue, but I think it would be good to have on there to at least begin with.
Thank you. James.
I'm in agreement with my colleague, basically ditto to everything that she stated. I was very pleased to hear Mr. Williams share with us what he initially struggled with a few times in his past. And it says a lot about his willingness to want to seek a different path than where he was initially at. And for him to open up and share with us for a situation that is definitely very serious, but to be sincere about it. And then also with being engaged, as my colleague talked about, with all the activities and learning that was there to him during this period of time being present. I too am in agreement with DOC's recommendation and to parole him PG D3, the 30A, I believe she mentioned, as well as the 40A with cognitive or substance abuse, or just something where he's, continuing to grow. He's still young. And with youth, as he gets older, we know that he's going to want to share more and have other interactions with the community abroad, especially, continuing with this relationship that he's preparing to transition to. So just some of that extra cognitive, and so that he can continue to assess what's going to help him towards, the trajectory we want him to have.
Would you like me to add the cog to mental health as well, or
Or just to kind of give the PO,
your thoughts?
the people of leadership, they can use their own discretion.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I would do,
Cog and mental health.
yeah, and see what's appropriate, yeah.
Meredith, you already gave yours.
Yep.
So, Mr. Williams, this is the Chase Williams we've been waiting for. You did well today.
Thank you.
I myself have not given my decision, but I am in agreement with the DOC recommendation to parole you. Even your counselor gave you kudos to how well you do inside. It was just that one factor of just not being able to open up, and you did that today. You accomplished a goal today. So, like I said, I'm in agreement with the DOC recommendation for your parole. So that would be a PGD3, the 48 treatment codes. We want you to get a substance abuse evaluation, mental health evaluation, and continue with your cognitive as well. The 30A is going to be a restriction against minors unless approved by your PO. And the 50A is no alcohol, period. Okay, no alcohol, no liquor stores, no bars. Is there any questions?
Oh, sir. Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you very much, and we wish you well. Okay, take everything you learn and apply it.
Good luck to you.
Thank you, Daryl.
And don't be ever too proud to ask, or having too much pride to ask, because there are some good people out there that are willing and want to help you.
That's right. Take care.
Good deal. Good job. Well done. All right. I'll talk to you later. That's it. Thank you, board. I'll scoot over and let Scott take the chair. I don't think Chris is here today, so he'll be playing the role of Chris Vilhauer today. And Scott Porter. He's got two.
Hey, thank you, Daryl. You do a good job, man.
Take care.
Thank you. I was nervous on how this would go, but I was also right with you guys. I was proud that he was able to take that step because it was tough for him.
Right.
So,
Yeah, hey, I admit to you too, we were a little nervous. The only difference we have that you don't have is, you do have it, a mute button.
what's the old saying? Third time's the charm.
Take care now.
Take care, sir.
Take care. Thank you, Scott, for setting us up. You want me to? Well, I'll wait and I'll go get him when they're ready here. Is he out here? Yeah. Okay. It's unmuted too, so. Okay. Good morning, board.
Hey, good morning.
Looks like we have Anthony Moyle next.
Yep, that's correct.
Give me just 30 seconds. Okay. Any updates or anything that we should know about Mr. Moyle before we bring him in?
No, still set to finish active on the 19th, so.
Okay. I don't think I have any questions. Jesse or James, any questions?
I don't.
All right, we are ready to bring him in.
Okay. Thanks, Daryl.
Anthony?
Go ahead and say your name and number.
Anthony Moyle,
1095149.
Thank you, Mr. Moyle. My name's Meredith Lamberti, and here with me are Jesse Rincon and James Moses. And we're the three-member panel of the Board of Parole who are going to be talking with you this morning. Before we get started, I want to go over a couple of things with you so you know what to expect today. The very first thing that's important for you to know is that this Zoom that we're on is considered a public forum. And what that means is that members of the public or the media can listen to your interview, but not participate in it. But because they can listen, it's important that you know we might discuss some personal and confidential information this morning. And that includes, but isn't limited to, things like your medical history, mental health history, treatment history, or other possible confidential information. So do you understand that those are some things that we might discuss today? Okay, so what's going to happen is that each of the three of us might have some questions for you, and we'll start with our questions first. And then once we're done with our questions, that's when you'll have the chance to tell us anything else that you'd like for us to know or anything that you might have prepared for us today. Then once you've had a chance to make that statement, then the three of us are going to go into our deliberation where we discuss what our decision's going to be. And we'll do that here on the Zoom, so you'll be able to listen to that discussion as we're having it. And then once we reach a final decision, I'll turn back to you. I'll deliver that decision. I'll explain anything about it that might be confusing. And then that will end our interview for the day, okay?
All right.
Are you ready to get started?
Yep.
All right, why don't you start us off by giving me just a brief but detailed explanation of the crime that you committed that led to you being in prison today.
Okay, so I was charged with lascivious acts solicitation. What happened is previous to my crime of conviction, my brother was murdered, and I relapsed on methamphetamines after being sober and clean for over 25 years and not being in any trouble with the law for almost 25 years. I had fought my addiction for a while, trying to get control of it, but I wasn't able to. So when my wife was out of town, my daughter was away from the house, my son was living at a different house. I had tried to make contact with some prostitutes who were supposed to be coming over to my house. During that time, my daughter walked into the house and saw me in a position that she shouldn't have never seen me in. I was charged with solicitation and I was charged with giving her and her friend alcohol and weed, so child endangerment. And I was also charged with indecent exposure, because when they walked in, I was naked on the couch watching pornography. That crime, after that, I was put into a psych ward for a week, and a week later, I was charged with that crime. I took a plea agreement on that crime, and I went for 2 years probation. At that time, I continued with my drug addiction, trying to fight it, was unable to successfully kick that addiction again. So it had been almost 3.5, 4 years that I've been fighting that addiction. I failed almost every UA I had while I was on probation, and then I was violated for my probation at that time. I spent the last year, 17 months in prison, going through multiple treatments and attending AA and NA every day that I could.
Thank you. I appreciate that explanation. So we do have a victim statement today that our victim liaison is going to read for us. So we're going to do that now. Heather, you can go ahead.
Okay. As I'm sitting here thinking about what I want to say, or even if I want to say anything to Mr. Moyle, I just want to know why. Why did he do that to me? Why did he relapse every time? Why didn't he ever think about what it would do to me, Jared and Mom? Why would he put the drugs before me? Why he thought I would let him do those things that he planned for me? Why wouldn't he leave us alone? Why would he even think of hurting me, Mom, and Jared? He was my daddy. He was the man that took over when my biological dad didn't. He coached me, he loved me, he took care of me. He was my dad. And now, when I hear his name or see a picture of him, I get sick to my stomach. Now I'm afraid of him. Now I want nothing to do with him. I'm afraid that when he gets out, that he will bother us every day. We don't want him around anymore. There is no more family, no more us. And he will never be in my life again. And he shouldn't try. When he gets out, please leave us. We hope that he please leaves us alone. I shouldn't have to be afraid to live my life because he's getting out. I shouldn't be afraid to go to work or go to the store and that there could be a chance that I would see him. He did this to me. He did this to us. He will never have a spot in my heart again. I don't ever want to see him again. Please let us have peace. We finally thought we were safe, free and safe, and now they are letting him, now you might possibly let him out. He needs to leave my mom alone. She and Jared are the only two I have left, the only two that stood by me. He mentally and physically hurt me. I don't even like going to my mom's house because he tried to do those things to me there in my own home, the place I call home, the place I felt safe. And he ruined that for me. Every time I go there, I have instant flashbacks. I lost everything, and for some reason, I blamed myself. I recently came to the realization that it wasn't my fault. It was his. It is his fault. It will always be his fault. And people don't believe what happened. They call me a liar. They say, oh, Anthony would never do that. And that's what I used to say. That wasn't my dad. That was the drugs. But it was my dad. It was him. He tried to do those things to me. People that I thought were my family don't even talk to me in public or in general because they don't know what to say to me. People told me that he told them I was lying, that I made it up, and that he would never do those things to his daughter. That wasn't supposed to happen to me. How wasn't it for me? Everything was planned. He was going to do those things to me. And the fact that he thought I was going to let him do those things to me is insane. He was supposed to be my dad. He was supposed to walk me down the aisle, help me move into my first house. He was supposed to be the grandpa to my children, but instead he chose drugs. He chose that over his own family, and that makes me sick. I want him to leave us alone and leave my mom alone. In honesty, Bella Lynn.
Thank you, Heather. Mr. Moyle, after hearing that statement, is there anything that you don't like us to know?
Yes, she's 100% right. I destroyed my family. I destroyed everything about them. And I know they want nothing to do with me no more. I can't change what's happened. All I can do is try to live a life where I can make up for what I've done. Maybe not with them, but with other people. I'm trying to, right now, I'm going to school to become a CADC, Certified Alcohol and Drug Counselor, so I could try to get back in my community to help people with addiction. So maybe the only thing I can do is help. So maybe this doesn't happen to other people and their families, even if I can't change what's happened to mine. I can maybe help some other people so it doesn't happen to them. And I can only live my life the best way I can, the way I used to be in her eyes, not the monster she remembers from my drug addiction. And spend every day trying to do something so I can kind of try to do something different and help other people. That's the only thing I have left. I don't plan on bothering my family, anything at all. I don't want nothing but happiness for them. And if they want nothing to do with me, then that's their choice. I'm not gonna force anything on them. All I can do is live my life every day and try to be the man that they remembered at one point in their life, and maybe be even better than that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It looks like you are getting close to finishing your AA, is that right? You have like 10 or so hours left?
Yes, I have 2 specific classes that I have to take once I am removed from incarceration, because they're not offered while you're incarcerated. They're drug and alcohol specific and counseling, which then I would be able to take my CADC exam with the Iowa State Board And start my 2,000 hours. I'm gonna try to intern with Rosecrans Jackson in Sioux City for those 2,000 hours to try to become a drug and alcohol counselor. At which point, when I'm done with my AA, I am gonna plan for a 2 year after finishing that DMAC, I'll be transferred to UNI for my bachelor's in social work, and I'm going to be working with transformative restorative justice in Sioux City as much as possible to help people coming from addiction and from criminal activity to try to help them reintegrate into society and become part of their community again.
Okay.
Those are goals.
So during those, I think you said 25 years that you were sober, what did you have in place that helped you to be able to achieve that?
I had met my wife at 47 years old. My daughter was 6 months old, and my son was 4 years old. I was 2 weeks sober at the time, and my wife had a lot of things going on with her not being able to be around in public, and nervous all the time, things like that. She was a stay-at-home mom. I found a person that was my best friend. I talked to her every day, and we built our relationship on being best friends. I went back to school and I took classes for HVAC, heating and air conditioning. I became a journeyman. I did that for 15 years. I was approved by the Iowa Department of Public Health to take the board exam for my master's license to start my own business. During that time, my wife and I, she was able to get done with her medication and be able to start to build life and support with each other. We helped each other grow. She went back to school and became a master social worker herself. And now she works, last I knew, she was working for Western Iowa Tech Community College. I was a coach for 15 years with both of my kids through 4 different sports. Girl Scout troop leader with my daughter and my wife, and we're a big part of our communities. And I let all that go because when my brother got murdered, I felt responsible, I felt guilty, and I didn't deal with my emotions. I ran from them. And I ran from them and hid in a needle. And I destroyed my family's life because I couldn't deal with my guilt, and they had to suffer because of what I did.
What motivates you to stay sober now?
Because my wife and kids meant everything to me, and I destroyed them. I let that happen because I couldn't deal with my life, and it was because I ran into drugs again. After being sober for so long, I ran right back to what I knew, right back to the nightmares that I had before. I want to help other people, and I can't do that if I'm ever going to be on drugs again, and I never want those things in my life again. I'm grateful. When I came to prison, I was trying to kill myself. I didn't want to live. I'm grateful. How about gratitude for the year and a half I had in prison? I needed that time to get my mind back. I wouldn't have been able to stay sober. I couldn't do it for my family. I couldn't do it for myself. Couldn't do it for anybody else. The time I had in prison literally saved my life. And being able to help other people is all I have left. That's what I want in my life. It's my purpose, my meaning. I gave up what I loved, and so I have to find something to fill that. And the only thing I have that I want in my life is to help other people now.
I appreciate hearing all that. And I do want you to hear, though, something that I think is a difficult balance and something that's hard to do and hard to explain. And there's a difference between like guilt versus taking accountability. And you can take accountability without being motivated by guilt and shame, because that can lead you to spiral. And I hear a lot of guilt and shame, and that doesn't mean that you're not taking responsibility if you don't feel guilt and shame. It just means that you need to be able to accept things without making yourself feel like you are a bad person. And so one of my recommendations for you is to continue to address that with mental health, because if you get to a point where you are only operating out of shame, you are going to end up relapsing. You have to be motivated by something more than just shame. I'm going to let my colleagues ask you some questions. I think that was all I had for you, but I appreciated the conversation. James, do you have any questions?
Yeah, maybe a couple. Mr. Moyle, that what my colleague shared is just very important, because when you were talking and I heard your plans, and I'm impressed of your thirst for education and wanting to give back to help people from traumatic experiences that you created for yourself. But one of the things, I don't know if I heard you add in the plan, what kind of professional that or professionals that you're looking to work with as well, with maintaining a balance for all the things that you would like to accomplish. Can you share with us about that plan?
Yes, when I get back to Sioux City, the first thing I'm going to be doing is going to Rosecrans Jackson for my own recovery purposes. And I'm going to be attending a treatment program for my drug addiction. I'm also going to be seeing my mental health therapist through Sioux Lake Community Health Center. And they're going to be helping me deal with any and all of my mental health issues. One of the things I've done since I've been here is I have no longer on any medications whatsoever. I've been working on a new plan of staying healthy, working out, trying to go to class and help myself mentally, physically, and emotionally. I've been going to support groups, and the other thing I want to stay heavily involved with is the NA program in Sioux City. I have a lot of people that I still talk to that are in the NA program. I had sponsors that I'm going to be working with, and I'm going to be having the community, because my sobriety comes first. I can't help anybody else unless I help myself first, and my sobriety has to come first. And it's the most important thing in my life right now.
I just heard you mention a sponsor. How long have you been involved with him or her?
Almost three years now. Yep.
Okay.
He runs a sober living house in Sioux City. He was his name is Glenn Moore. He was my sponsor when I was still with my wife at the time after my crime, and I still couldn't get myself straight at the time. I needed the time away. I needed at least this much time to get my mind back and get away from the drugs to be able to stop that from happening. But I still talk to Glenn a few times every month. And then I also talk to a couple of other people that are in Sioux City right now that are part of the NA program that I knew from almost 4 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, because I was getting ready to kind of speak on that, because when you were sharing about the spiraling away from what successes that you were having with your wife and daughter and family, and the things that you mentioned about being in the community, I was wondering, who besides them holds you accountable? Someone that, or some group or some people that, you are open to really listen to, because, of your choice and decisions to allow things to intervene that wasn't in your best interests, that led to your decisions, that led to your choices, that led to you going astray from, what was helpful for you or what may not have been helpful for you. So I'm just kind of still curious as to who that person or that group or those individuals are that hold you accountable, if that all makes sense.
Yes, I do have the one person I still talk to, I've known since third grade. It was my best friend. His name is Billy Smith. He is still helpful to me in every way. He's never used drugs before. He's never been part of that life. He talks to me on the phone, and I talk to him at least twice a month. Still, he is my biggest support person. I don't have a whole lot of other family that was supportive of me in any way. My wife and kids were my support group, and I know my codependency caused a lot of my issues as well. I put all my eggs in one basket, so to say, before. And this time what I want is to work with my probation and parole officer, which I'm going to be on parole for almost 5 more years because I have the special sentence after this. And so I'm going to be working with my probation officer. When he went to court, I was upset at the time, but I have since come to terms that I'm grateful for the fact that he did send me there, and I want to work with him on a one-on-one basis because I want to work with the probation parole office as well. So to do that, I'm going to have to be helped by them. I'm going to be going to my aftercare treatment at the probation and parole office at least once a month. I have some other people that I went through treatment with that I've been in contact with that are going to help me in the sex addictions and things like that, that I'm going to be going to support group for that as well. I'm going to be trying to find as many support in the community that I can. This is going to be a new type of support for me because before I had a different life, and that's not going to be my life when I get out anymore. I don't have what I had before. So I'm going to have to start and find some new support groups when I get out and build more. And I want to start with probation parole officer. I'm going to be going to work release or the RTF, and that's the first place I'm going to start with my support group right there to help reintegrate myself into the community.
I feel good partially because this is still premature, but I do feel partially good about what you've said because that is very important. The relationship that you choose to value with your PO and with the proper support group will help you towards the information that you shared with us. It's premature because you're just talking to us, and actions is all that is that is needed. But I'm actually glad to hear you mention your PO and the relationship you would like to have with them going forward. So other than that, I appreciate what you've shared thus far. That concludes my questions to you.
Thank you.
Jesse, any questions?
Yeah. Hello, Mr. Moyle. I'm Jesse. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
You as well. I'm going to ask you 2 tough questions here. So
Yes,
the first one is, you had thought out your plan with the victim in great detail with the drugs, alcohol, and the bags of instruction. When did you start looking at your stepdaughter in a sexual way? When do you recall? And this is time to be honest.
honestly, I did not plan that in any way with my daughter. I went through my CVSA and treatment, and when I made those bags up, they weren't for her. The night that this happened, when she entered the house, is when things went sideways. My plans were in another area, and when she entered the house with her friend, is when things went sideways at that point. And I put her in a position that she was never supposed to be in. The plans were for other people, but because of my drug addiction and my mental health at that time, I put her into that position when she walked in the house.
Appreciate you answering that.
Yes.
And then it was stated here that there was no incidents before this and before this charge. So what are your thoughts right now of breaking the trust of your stepdaughter? Because there was nothing before this that was mentioned. She even stated that. Now that you have broken her trust, What are your thoughts?
My daughter was what I always called my mini me. She was just like me. Um, I enjoyed every minute of being her father. And I'm not sad for myself. I'm sad because I'm not going to be there to walk her down the aisle. I'm sad that I took those things from her. It's not for myself that I cried. It's for her because we were so close. And she chose to be my daughter just as much as I chose to be her father. You know, and she's lost all that now because of my actions. So I have no way to repair that, to make that better, to change that. The only thing I can do is try to live a life that she can be proud of, like she used to be proud of me before. And, you know, and if she never speaks to me again, I can't change that. What I'm hoping for is that she finds happiness somewhere in her life and she remembers how happy she used to be. And that's all I can pray for, is that she can find some kind of closure and know that I'm not going to haunt her. I don't want to be a monster to her. It breaks my heart to know that she still worries about me and the monster I was, because it wasn't just that night that was such a problem for her. It was the destruction of years of methamphetamine use. I was a monster to my family. I terrorized them. I made it so they couldn't sleep. And I don't want to be,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just don't want to be that monster to her anymore, or my wife or my son. I just want them to have their life back. That's what I want, even if that doesn't include me in any way, shape, or form. I just want them to be happy and okay. That's all I want.
Well, thank you for answering those two questions, which is going to lead me to my last question. What have you learned from SOTP that's going to keep you from ever reoffending anything even close to something like this?
The biggest thing I learned from SOTP is to deal with my past. Going back through my life history and all the things that I covered up and I just never dealt with, that came back to haunt me in the end, that took control of my life and allowed me to do the things that I'm doing because I didn't deal with them. You know, there's so many times in my life that regardless, you know, at some point I have to face them. I have to deal with them. I have to let them out in the light. I have to be honest about them. I have to talk about them and I have to put them out there, because it doesn't stop until you put light on it. You know, and you gotta own it. You gotta admit it. You gotta put it out there. You gotta show that it doesn't have the power over you anymore. And that's the biggest thing I learned from SOTP, is to let those things out. And I put my whole life history out in front of a room full of men that are in prison, that, you know, I things that I've never said in my life that I put out there. And it was freeing. It was liberating, honestly.
That was a good answer, and I appreciate that. I have no more questions for you, and thank you for answering the ones I did have.
I think.
Follow-up questions? All right, so now, Mr. Moyle, is your time to tell us anything else that you'd like for us to know, or anything that you might have prepared for us today?
The only thing I'd like for you to know is that the 17 months that I've been in this far, I'm grateful for. You know, I never thought, when I got out of prison when I was young at 20 some years old, I never thought I would ever come back. I had never thought I'd be in this position. And when I came in, I wanted to die. My life was over. I had nothing to live for. The 17 months has given me a chance to have a second chance at life and do something different with my life. And I just want to be given the chance to actually do that. You know, it's going to take some time before I get to the places I want to go. I got a lot to deal with myself before I get there. But I'm grateful for the time I've had here, because it's helped change my life.
All right, well, thank you. I appreciate that. If you sit back, listen, I'll let you know what our decision is.
Okay.
All right, Jesse or James, what are your thoughts on this recommendation of this would be a parole with a 10B to the work release.
Yeah, I think it was a really good interview, actually. As hard as it was to listen to, it was a good interview. I think with the time constraints that he has left, our option is work release right now. I like his plan to give back to the community with his drug and alcohol that he's pursuing, trying to get into some kind of counseling. Some of the best counselors are people who've been there, done that. So I'm going to be in agreement with the DOC recommendation with the PGD3, the 10B, 40A for substance abuse, mental health, the 50A for alcohol, and the 30A for no children, the SOTP aftercare, and I can't think of anything else.
Okay, James?
Yeah, as my colleague said, I too was, pretty pleased, listening to Mr. Moyo, sorry, and what he had to share. His thirst for education, pursuing, a goal of his, which is to be, a counselor to help with, those that have had addictive, or addictions, with drugs and alcohol, but just who have had some of the things that he's dealt with and still working on. Yes, it was definitely hard to listen to. When you hear about the events that took place, throughout, Mr. Moyle's actions, but hearing what he is planning and hearing what he is, looking to do to better himself and to better, um, um, his lifestyle, the gratitude that he spoke of, the, humility that he spoke from, and his willingness to be open to more of a balance, that, also, can help him continue his personal growth with working with professionals. So with all that being said, I could go on, but anyhow, I too am in agreement with DOC's recommendation, with the parole, so PG, D3 with the 10B, with the 20A, since it's special sentence, I don't know if the 20B is needed, but anyhow, the 30, A, the 40A with, SOTP aftercare, mental health, uh, along with, substance abuse, the 50A, and then any of the other codes that I didn't mention.
Okay, thank you both. I'm also gonna support this recommendation. He did briefly touch on it, but I think it's important to mention and looking in the intervention screen that, he did successfully complete his SOTP. He did have a CVSA with no deception noted, when he said that his intent was not for that to be his stepdaughter. And I think that that's important to point out here, that we do have that in the record. And, looking at the progress that he's made, the interventions that he's done, since coming to prison, and the plan that he has for himself, he knows how to be successful. He knows how to maintain sobriety, and he can do that again, and he has the things in place to be able to do that again. So I'm just gonna make sure that I have everything here. The 10B, I have the 20A limited internet, 20B no early discharge, 30A minors, 40A substance abuse, mental health, SOTP, and a 50A. All right, I'm gonna deliver our decision. So, Mr. Moyle, we are gonna grant your parole today. I'm gonna walk you through all of the letters and numbers that we were throwing out, because there was a lot. So, you'll begin on parole status with a 10B, so that means you'll begin at the work release. And And you will have standard conditions of parole that everyone has, and then we place special additional terms of parole that are tied to your crime and things that we'd like you to engage in the community. So the very first one is you will start with limited internet usage, and that will line up with your SOTP maintenance class requirements as well. The 20B is no early discharge, so you will continue on parole status until November of 2025 for this charge, and then that's when your special sentence will begin. And you'll have new orders that'll be very similar, if not exactly the same, but it will be your special sentence at that time. You will not have to come back to us. That will all just be done on paper. A 30A is no contact with any minor child unless that's approved by your PO. The 40A, those are programs or activities, things we'd like you to do. We'd like you to engage in substance abuse treatment, engage in mental health treatment, and then you will have to complete SOTP maintenance classes out in the community as well. And then the final one is a 50A, which is a prohibition on drinking alcohol. And it doesn't sound like alcohol was your primary activity, but it can lead to being around the same people and places and things that you used to use with. And so we start with those when somebody has had a substance abuse history. So with that, no drinking alcohol, no being places where alcohol is the primary activity. So no liquor stores, no bars, and then you can be subject to random UAs by your PO. Do you have any questions for me about what any of those codes mean?
No.
All right, well, we thank you for your time today. Get out there and do well.
All right, thank you very much.
Also, we want to thank the victim for being here as well.
Oh, yes, and we'll thank the victim for providing that statement for Heather to read for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, Scott, or
Yep,
how you doing?
good, how are you?
Good. Anything new on Mr. Steele?
No, no.
And same recommendation?
Yep, yes, we're gonna try this foundational stones program. Fairly new program from my understanding.
Sounds good. Colleagues, do you have any questions before we get started?
I don't.
Do you know how long they can stay at that program?
I believe it's a year. I think it's 6 months, but they can stay up to a year, I believe. It's kind of similar to Tim's Club from what I gathered.
Okay.
Okay,
I was talking to them and listening to the intake process and stuff.
okay.
All right. With that said, let's bring them in.
Okay.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Good, thank you. Please state your name and your state number.
It's Justin Style, 671-3099.
Thank you, Mr. Style. So I'm gonna explain the process of this, okay?
Okay.
All right, my name is Jesse Rincon. My colleagues today is Meredith Lamberti and James Moses. We will be conducting your interview today. This interview is considered to be in a public forum, meaning that the media can listen in, but they cannot participate. We can possibly discuss confidential information such as your mental health, substance abuse, and your medical history. Do you understand this, and are you willing to proceed?
Aye.
Okay, so how this works, I'll start off by asking you to describe the crime in detail. What was going on in your life at the time that brought you to prison? After that, my colleagues and myself might have some questions for you to answer. After we complete our questioning, I will ask you if you have anything for the board that you would like us to know or that you prepared. When you're done with that, we'll go into what's called deliberation, meaning we're going to make a decision. Once we made a decision, I'll come back to you and explain, okay?
All right.
All right, so let's start off by what brought you to prison, what's going on in your life. Please describe in detail.
I was working I was a supervisor at Visor Lumber. And my boss, he worked there for 10 years, asked me if I wanted to make some extra money. And the extra money happened to be stealing lumber from this place. And feeling like I was behind the ball, I just was, I was going to make some fast money, and poor decision, bad judgment call. And I should have never done it, but I did, and got caught for it. And that's why I'm here.
So was the stealing ongoing or was it a one-time deal?
It was ongoing. It
How long
went,
did
it went
how
on
long?
for like 9 months.
About 9 months.
Yeah.
Was the total in the thousands of dollars?
Yeah, the total was in like the 22,000. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Obviously my boss had been doing it for quite some time. But what Visor figured out between me and him was $22,000.
And were you happen to be selling, or was you willing to be part of that to support any kind of drug habit or anything that was going on at that time?
No, I've actually January 6th of 2020 was my last time I used, and I've been sober almost 5 years.
Congratulations. What were you using at the time?
Is meth. I started using meth when I was 27. I didn't have a criminal history. I really don't come from a bad family. And from 27, 29 was when I went to prison my first time. Did 6 months. It was for a deuce. Got out. Wasn't enough time because I started using again. And then I got a 10-year sentence. And thank God for that, because it honestly took me a year and a half. I did a year in county and then about 6 months in Clarinda before I was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done using. And got out 6 months later at the beginning of 22, went to Kingdom Living, did that. Great place because if you're going to use, you're out, which
Right.
That's the way it needs to be. But the unfortunate side of that is not a lot of people graduate from there. I graduated, continued going to AA, the Kingdom Living meetings on Monday, and the White House there in Des Moines on Sunday mornings. And I feel like a bonehead for this theft thing. No excuse for it, 100% my fault. It was an opportunity to make some fast money, and it was a poor choice.
Says all money's not good money, right?
Right. And honestly, I've taken something from, like I said, that second time I came to prison, that probably saved my life on the sobriety thing. This time, like I said, I'm so embarrassed. I just feel like I've let a lot of people down, my 2 kids, namely. I can't. It's got to be honest or no way. That's just the way it is. I mean, I can't.
Are your two kids names JC and Jensen?
Jason Jensen, yep.
Yeah. So how's your relationship with them right now?
It's good. I mean, I had full custody of Jason Jensen for the first 5 years of their life, and they have a good mom. I mean, their mom isn't a criminal. She works at Mercy North in Ankeny, but I got lucky and I got full custody of them. But then when I went to prison my first time, I signed full custody back to their mom, and it's the first time I went away. We didn't tell them I went to prison. We actually told them I went to iron worker camp. And the second time, they knew. We told them because I was gone for 2 years. But this time, I know they're disappointed. They say some stuff to me that hurts, but that I need to hear. They say stuff like, you know, Dad, we love you, but we just don't want you to be away anymore. And that sucks. It sucks hearing that stuff, but I understand. I understand. Or they want their dad.
I appreciate that. I'm gonna turn it over to my colleagues at this time to have them ask you any questions they have, okay? James?
Actually, I don't have any questions.
No worries. Meredith?
I just have a couple of questions for you, Mr. Style. I was on your interview when you left Clarinda, so I'm disappointed to see you back, but I'm happy to see that you did maintain your sobriety throughout that time. So, my only questions for you that we haven't covered are about your parole plan and the Foundational Stones program, and why you chose that and why you think it's going to be a good transition for you.
During my time at Kingdom Living, they're all about AA and NA, and there was only one guy. His name's Joe Emerson, and he's actually the guy I'm going to go work for when I get out of here. But they let at Kingdom Living, there's a requirement for you to go to NA meetings, AA meetings, but Joe was more faith-based, and so they let him. Kingdom Living let him do the church thing, but he was like the only one. But they knew he was serious about it, and Foundational Stone is faith-based, and don't get me wrong, Kingdom Living, like I said, it was a good place, but because of me making this poor decision of the theft, being more faith-based, I think it'll keep me straight to ensure that if some dumb decision comes up, it's just not, it'll be helpful.
Okay. What sort of requirements does that program have?
I believe there's church on Sundays. We have Bible studies, I think Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then maintain employment, basically the same thing as Kingdom Living. Same thing except for you're swapping faith for sobriety.
Okay. And how long did you stay at Kingdom Living?
I stayed there for 6 months, but then after you stay in the house, you have to do 3 months of live outs. So it's a total of 9 months. I did 6 months in the house on Carpenter Avenue, and then I got a place in Waukee and did the 3 months live outs, and then graduated. And then I continue to go to those meetings, and you can ask Jesse and Mike Madden and all those guys. I like those meetings because even though I think I have messed my life up, going to those meetings, hearing these people talk, this might sound kind of bad, but hearing some of their stories, I'm like, oh my gosh, I really haven't messed up that bad. And so like it helps me feel like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. You're not as far off as some of these guys. So just keep chugging along and you'll be all right. And so that's why I continue those meetings.
They do a good job of keeping people who've graduated still in their community.
Right. Yeah. And like, honestly, and I tell guys in here, a lot of them, that Kingdom Living, it is a good place, because I've heard of other places in Des Moines, that they're trap houses. And it's unfortunate, because some of these guys don't understand that some of these guys do want to change. And if you're going to get high, whatever, that's your choice, but don't stay in the house and potentially screw these other guys over. because that's what you're gonna do. And Kingdom Living is, yeah, the guys that weren't gonna make it, you could tell immediately because they were just like, this might as well be prison. Well, it's not prison. You get to live a normal life. You get to go to work. It's really not that hard at all, unless you want to get high. If you want to get high or drink, then you're wasting your time. Just don't even go there.
Absolutely.
That's
We
why I
we
like
think, yeah, we think really highly of the Kingdom Living program. If you want to put in the work, they'll
Yep.
get you there.
And that's I tell the guys that are in here all the time. There's no way they will allow you to fail as long as you don't get high or use alcohol. And they're like, well, what if I don't have a license, or what if? Well, these guys are super plugged in. If you need a job, if you need to get places, they will not. I mean, their business is about success. It makes their business look better if you succeed there. So as long as you don't want to get high and you don't want to use, they will make sure that you pass. 100% they will. It's up to them.
All right, and then my final question for you is you touched on what the work that you want to do. But can you tell us what your plans are for employment and what you're going to be doing in that space?
Yeah, Joe has his own like construction company, and I used to when I first graduated, I was a union carpenter, but then I graduated in 07, but then in 09, the economy took a dump, and so I got out of that. I used to be a union iron worker, but because those guys like to party too hard, this last time I got out, that's not. They're good guys, but it's just not a good fit for me. So I have a good construction background, and Joe knows me from Kingdom Living. We were actually roommates, and we actually got it approved through both our parole officers to move into that house in Waukee. And I didn't think that was an option, but I think it's because of Joe's done so good, and that was the only reason. He's just excelled and he's done well. But yeah, he's been a big help. He's been a big help, and he's been there for me. And I think the reason he stuck around is because I haven't used. And he knows that people make mistakes. He's obviously been in this position before, and you can get a sense of who's a good person and who's not. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's a good plan for you. I think that sets you up for success really well. So those were the only questions that I have for you.
Thank you, Meredith. So this is the time, if you have anything you'd like the board to know or prepared, or parting words, you got the floor.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard just about everything from everybody. I'm sorry. Truly, I'm sorry. And like I said, this one I feel like a complete bonehead, because the length of time of a big person in my life is my Aunt Lisa. And the first thing I told her when I got to county for this was I wasn't getting high. And she said, I know you weren't. I'm still disappointed of the decision you made to get here, but I know you weren't getting high. And I feel like a bonehead. I feel like what the heck was I thinking? Because in the 6 months that I was there at Beiser Lumber, I made $51,000. Who needs extra money when you're making $100,000 a year? I mean, you don't. Like I said, I'm sorry for what I did. Not that I need to be sorry to you guys, but yeah, I just feel like a fool.
Well, thank you, Mr. Stahl. At this time, we're going to go into what's called deliberation, make a decision. So just sit back and listen. And when we have come to our decision, I'll come back to you and explain, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Colleagues, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and support this recommendation for parole. I was actually looking in the transfer screen and I kind of know the people that are involved with this, and they're they're solid people, solid support system. And it sounds like he knows where he messed up and what he needs to do, and he's got a plan. So let's see, parole with a 10C to the Foundational Stones program, West Des Moines, IB, looking at for that 40A, substance abuse. And probably 50A is not a bad idea to have on there. The theft didn't involve credit cards or anything that I can see, so I don't think we need to have that 30D on there.
Okay.
I think that is it.
James.
Yeah, I like the interview. I chose not to have any questions because I felt when he was being responsive with you, he was sharing a lot of the things that he already knows. And he seems well equipped and know what is needed in order for him to be successful. With that being said, I'm in total agreement with my colleague, as she eloquently stated, where I'm in agreement with DOC's recommendation to parole. So PGD3 with the 10C to the foundational living. I think that is an excellent program. The thing that was also nice to hear was that Mr. Style was very abreast to knowing the differences of what would be helpful towards where he wanted to go, and then emphasizing what he liked about it, being at this place of housing was faith-based. So just him having that moral compass really was a highlight for me. I didn't see anything under the 30D for the theft charge to the 40A substance abuse, and then the 50A, unless there was any other coincidence.
That was good. Thank you, James. Okay, Mr. Style, you heard those two, and I too am in agreement with the DOC recommendation. You know how to do well. You do. It's just time to get on track and stay on that track. And you spoke highly of King of Living, what they offered you, and then here again you go for another place that's got structure, and I think you feel a little safer without structure, and investing your time into the next place, which will be Foundational Stone. I think it's going to be a good program for you. I think you have everything it takes to be successful. It's just up to you not to make those bad decisions or not to take that quick money or those opportunities that look good at first, but can be detrimental later. So I am in agreement with the DOC recommendation to send you there. The codes we talked about is the PGD3 with the 10C. That gets you to foundational living. I'm sorry, Foundational Stone in West Des Moines. The 40A, we just want you to get a substance abuse evaluation. We know you've been doing very well on your sobriety. This just kind of baselines you and just gives an evaluation for your PO to go off of. And the 50A, you can't drink anyway when you're in a program. So we want you around no alcohol, period, okay?
Yep.
You have any questions?
No, thank you, guys. Yeah, have a good day.
Thank
You too.
you.
Good luck.
Welcome
Thank
to
you.
this interview. Appreciate you. Hey. DG.
All right, well,
Hey.
thank you guys. Happy holidays.
Yes.
See you
Yes.
next month.
Take
Happy
care.
holidays, you too. Merry Christmas.
Take care.
Merry Christmas.
Have a good one.